In this episode of Sales Journey Online, I'm going to discuss with you what it takes to be a successful online salesperson. So let's just look at the fact that at the moment the world is in a lockdown. And how does this affect you? How has this affected your chances and your way and your ability to sell? But before we get to that, the question I need to ask you is that based on how the lockdown has affected you, have you made the decision to either be relevant or irrelevant when it comes to sales in the future? Are you just waiting for the lockdown to end and to continue life as we know it, as we knew it? Or are you going to make yourself relevant enough to embrace the current way and to possibly further your sales prospects going forward? So you've either got two choices. You're either going to be relevant or you're going to be irrelevant. Now, when it comes to how lockdown has affected all of us, there's a couple of things that have happened and a couple of changes to how we deal with our customers that have happened. And the first one is travel is risky, if not completely limited. Travel is risky, okay? So we aren't really traveling a lot to our customers, and our customers don't really want to travel to us, and our customers don't want us to travel to them either. If you're in some markets around the world, you're not even allowed to travel. So travel is risky. So people aren't coming into the retail stores. We're not going to see them. And this has made things a little bit trickier. This has made things a little different. All right. So that's the first thing, is that travel is now risky. The second one is we've got this thing called social distancing, which very simply is that we've got to maintain a certain amount of space between ourselves and the next person, not huddle up in crowds, not go to crowded events. We need to have a social distance between us and the next person. All right. Now, in sales, we are so used to being with people. We're being around people. We're interacting with people. We're face-to-face with people. So social distancing for us is also going to be a bit different because they're going to want to spend a bit of time or the distance apart from us. And when we are dealing with a customer in our retail environment, they're not going to be sort of standing close to us. They're going to be standing a little bit away from us because of this whole social distancing thing. And the body language is going to be different because suddenly they're keeping a distance. And we've always learned that, when someone's keeping a distance because they don't really trust you. But now it's part of the norm. It's the norm to keep your social distance. But it also means that going forward, it's creating also a bit of a fear factor that some of our customers, or a lot of our customers, maybe not the majority, but enough to worry about, are going to still have this fear and they're going to still be practicing social distancing way into the future. So some of our customers, enough to worry about, are going to remain socially distant when lockdown ends. So we need to be aware of this. Things are changing. The next thing which has changed is that there's less face-to-face. Now, I do refer to face-to-face old school, in that we're not sitting across from a customer, we're not standing next to a customer, we don't have that physical face-to-face time with the customer. But we still do have the opportunity to have face-to-face time with a customer. I'm going to chat about that a little bit later. Something else that's changed is that you're not there. Okay, you're not there with your customer. You're not there to hold their hand or guide them through a process or do a product showcase or a system showcase. You're not there. All right, and this is quite tricky because when you're not there and they say, well, I can't get this thing to work, I'm not quite sure how to work this thing, and you say to them something like, well, push the button with a snowflake on it. All right, your image of a snowflake and my image of a snowflake may be different, may be very different. Therefore, I'm not going to know what button to press, but you're not there to actually show me. And this is going to create a challenge. This is going to create some new thought around how do we get around this. We're also going to have an issue, and the biggest issue, I suppose, in sales, that money is down. Commissions are down. Our ability to earn commission is going to be hampered. Some of us are already feeling it now that we're just not earning commission. There's just no sales happening. We're in a full lockdown, or we're in a partial lockdown, whatever the case may be. And money's down, and we're kind of thinking, well, when will it get better? When are we going to be able to earn those commissions that we are used to earning? And the answer is not anytime soon, if you're going to follow the old school or how it was pre-lockdown. All right, because you need to wait for that to happen again before you're going to be able to earn your income, and that's going to take a while, a couple of months, maybe even a year or so, and even post then, who knows what's going to happen? So money is down, and this is a challenge. And it's we've got to figure out new ways how to generate income, but we also need to be realistic that the incomes aren't going to be the same for some time to come. Not only do we need to recover, not only does the economies need to recover, not only do businesses need to open and flourish, but the consumer, the customers out there, they also need a bit of a break from this financial headache to earn a bit more money and to pay off those bills that they had to pay off, or whatever the case may be. And it might take a little while for them to have the sort of cash flows that they used to have in order to come and buy things from us. So yes, the money is down, commissions are down, and it's going to be like this for a little while. So I ask you again, right now, do you want to be relevant or do you want to be irrelevant going forward in the future of sales? And by simply watching this, you've kind of made up your mind already. You've made the decision that you indeed want to be relevant. And that's fantastic. You want to be relevant and I want to be relevant. We want to be here today. We want to be here tomorrow. We want to be in a month, a year, 2 years, 10 years time. We want to remain relevant in our industries. We want to remain relevant in the eyes of our customers. We want to remain relevant in the eyes of our employers. We want to be relevant in this world. Now, currently where we sit at is that to become relevant, all right, is challenging, because we sit on the one side with all this information, all our products, all our services, all the knowledge, the skills, the know-how. We have all of that. And then there's this gap between us and our customer is where our commission sits. Our customer is where our solutions sit. Our customer is where, they've got the needs and we've got the products to solve those needs, but there's a gap between us. We're here and they're over there. There's this social distancing, there's lockdown, there's this fear of travel, and there's this sort of gap between us and our customers, and there's this gap between us with all the expertise and all the knowledge and all the skills and all the product. There's a gap between us and our commissions. And we now need to bridge this gap. We need to close this gap down a little bit. So I'm going to share with you 5 perspectives that I urge you to think about, to consider, and to use or to overlay on your current way of living, your current way of selling, all right? And overlay these to see, can you change your perspective of how you're doing a few things? Can you improve what you're doing to become more relevant? You may be relevant, but let's become more relevant. Let's become the most relevant in the eyes of our customers, our employers, etc. So these are 5 things or 5 perspectives that I want you to embrace, I want you to think about, and how to become the most relevant you can be in this lockdown world that we live in. The first one is technology. All right, we have a lot of technology around us. You've got laptops, you've got smartphones, you've got tablets, you've got all this kind of stuff, and you need to embrace this technology. You need to get comfortable with it. You need to get a favor with this technology. You need to be able to utilize it to its maximum capacity in the capacity of sales. You can't still be afraid of it. You can't still turn away from it. You can't say it's not for me or I'm too old for this stuff, because then you're going to be irrelevant. If you want to remain relevant, you got to get in touch. You got to get up to date with this technology stuff. You got to have a good data connection. The days of I've run out of airtime or I've got a bad connection where I stay, those days are over. Those are no longer excuses. Those are excuses to be irrelevant. They're not excuses to remain relevant. You need to sort that stuff out. You need to become creative. You need to think about how you're going to improve your connections, that you are able to be 100% online all the time, and you know how to use all the technology at your disposal. Do you know how to use your phone? Do you know how to use your tablet? Do you know how to use your laptop, etc., etc.? You need to know how to use this technology, and you need to embrace this technology. Then there's also preparation. All right. Now, in sales, we're used to preparing. You're preparing a sales pitch, you're preparing a sales deck. Now we're going online. We're going to a different world. We're going to a world where we need to, how do we communicate with our customers? And it is different. We need to prepare for this. For example, a customer walks onto your retail floor and they would like a price list or a product brochure. And you get up from your desk and you go over to a cabinet or to a filing place and you go grab a brochure, you go grab a price list, you go grab a catalog, and you hand it over to your customer. Now, you don't have that ability. Unless you're going to stand there with the book and page it for your customer, it's not going to work. So you need to be able to prepare all your content. Do you have all your catalogs available? Do you have all your price lists available? Do you have all the accessory products or accessory brochures available? And is it in a place or on your laptop or on your phone or on your tablet that you can access it quickly? And do you know how to access it quickly? You need to be prepared to share this content with your customers. You need to prepare, how are you going to do this? I'm going to send it via mail if the customer wants it via email. Do you know how to do that? If the customer would like it via WhatsApp, do you know how to do that? If a customer wants it via message, do you know how to do that? All right. You also got to prepare for things like, well, I can't take an email more than 5 megabytes or 10 megabytes or whatever the case may be. What alternatives do you have? Do you have Dropbox? Do you have whatever the case may be? Do you have OneDrive or Google Drive? Prepare how you're going to share this information. All right. You've also got to prepare how you're going to get this information. Where you're going to get your information from. You're not sitting in the office where somebody walks past and says, hey, by the way, here's the new product guide or whatever the case is. That's not going to happen. You need to go and fetch this information digitally. You need to prepare and figure out how you're going to do that. How are you going to get all the information, the relevant information, and how you're going to take that information, package it differently, and be able to distribute it to your customers in this online lockdown kind of world that we live in. You need to prepare for this stuff. You then also need to be able to translate. And I touched on this a little bit earlier. Because you're not sitting there with the customer, the example of push the button with a snowflake, and your version of a snowflake and my version of a snowflake are different. The way we translate information to a customer, the way we translate support to a customer, these things are going to be different. So you're not there, you're not sitting with your customer. You can't say, well, push this or push that and let me show you how to do it. You're not there with them anymore. You're on this side of a screen and they're on that side of a screen. So you need to be able to translate this information better. You need to have different skill set to be able to translate this information via an online platform. And here's a way that you can possibly practice this. So for example, in your house, if you're lucky enough or fortunate enough that you're staying with somebody, so grab your spouse or your partner and sit on opposite sides of a table. Like take your kitchen table or in your dining room or your television room and sit in different sides of the room. All right. And I want you to open up a game on both phones. Okay. So you open up something like Solitaire, whatever the case may be, Candy Crush or Angry Birds, whatever it is, and both open it up at the same time. And your job is to now explain to this person how to play the game, but you can't get up and go and show them. You can't turn your phone and say, press here and do this. You can't do that. You have to stay where you are. They have to stay where they are, and you need to be able to explain exactly how to use this game. So try that. It's a way to kind of reprogram your mind to translate information when you can't get up and simply go and show the person. This is going to be absolutely key. Then you need to plan and practice without a shadow of a doubt. You need to plan this stuff. You need to plan, okay, I'm going to get hold of my customer, I'm going to get hold of my client, or my client's going to call me, whatever the case may be. And if they ask any questions, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to send this information, I'm going to get them to give me their information, we're going to do it via email. Plan how you're going to get and send information to or back and forth between you and your customer. You need to plan this stuff. And then you need to practice it. You need to practice. This is new for a lot of us. We're not all au fait with how this stuff works. You need to practice this. And one of the great examples is something if you're using a platform like, for example, Skype or Zoom, or you're using Microsoft Teams. What you see on your screen and what the customer sees on their screen may be different. It may look different. You might be on a laptop, and your customer might be on their phone or on their tablet. And that's going to be different. The interface is going to be different. The interaction is going to be different. Are they able to view the stuff that you're doing? You're sharing your screen, but on their tablet, they haven't gone to that part of the app. Therefore, they're not actually seeing the screen. So you're trying to explain what you're seeing and they're not seeing anything. So you need to be able to practice, you need to practice this. And once again, a way of doing this is at home with your spouse, with your partner. You need to grab 2 devices. All right, sit in different rooms so there's no sort of communication or verbal, non-verbal communication between the two of you. And set up a Skype call, set up a Zoom call, set up a Microsoft Teams call, and practice translating information, practice sending information, practice receiving information. So you can practice how it looks on both sides. And the moment you get to a bit of an issue where I couldn't get this right or couldn't get that right, make a note of it. All right, so I was sending this through, but they were on a tablet and now I was on a laptop and they couldn't see the screen that I was sharing. Make a note. And then how do we fix that? So you sit down together and you go, okay, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. Oh, okay, let me make a note. So when you're with your customer and you say, well, what are you using? Are you using a tablet? And they go, yeah. You say, well, you're using an Android or using an iPad? And depending on which one they've said, you've now practiced that if they're using an Android tablet or they're using an iPad, that you know what to tell them and you can translate how they need to use that particular platform. And the only way to do this is to practice. Now, you might do it the first 2 or 3 times and it might go horribly wrong for you. And you might go, you know what, I'm not prepared for this. Ask you the question, do you want to be relevant or do you want to be irrelevant? If you want to be relevant, you've got to break through that barrier. You've got to learn how to use this stuff. Practice, 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 practice. And the last thing of the 5 perspectives I want to chat to you about is when you are communicating with your customer, don't sell yet. All right? Now, this might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. This is a new way of interacting with customers. Not all our customers are going to be 100% happy with this, because as much as you might be frustrated with technology, they might be frustrated using their technology. You also now have to rebuild that trust, or you need to build a different kind of trust, so they can trust this interaction via online platforms, and they can trust that the information is going to be secure and the information is going to be correct, and they can trust that they can call you up and you can have a great meeting and all the information that they have or they need and vice versa is going to be able to take place and is going to be able to happen. They need to be able to trust that again. So if you jump in with a sale immediately, you might put them off. They might go, I'm just not ready for this. I'm still trying to just figure out how to actually communicate with you. So don't sell yet. Rather, get them used to, walk them through this whole thing of this online platform that you're using, whichever one it is that you're using. And it could be something simple as, a FaceTime and an email. It doesn't have to be something like a Zoom or a Skype. It could be whatever you are comfortable with and whatever your clients are comfortable with, whatever your customers are comfortable with using. All right? So let them get used to it. Let them settle into it. Let them know that you can send them information, they can send you information, and it's gonna work. And when they are a little bit more trustworthy of the situation and of this transaction, then start the sales pitch. But I urge you, don't jump into the sales pitch immediately. We've got to kind of warm them up to it. It's like a brand new customer. It's like a cold customer. You've got to build that trust first. So you're gonna sell, but you're just not gonna sell on the very first call. Give them some time to work this whole thing out. Because ultimately, to bridge the gap between where we are and where our customers are and where our commission sits is going to be very much online. You're going to have to embrace this. And I'll go back to it. Do you want to be relevant or do you want to be irrelevant? If you want to be irrelevant in sales, you're going to have to embrace this new online way of doing things. And the best way to embrace it is to practice, 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 practice. Embrace technology. You're going to prepare all your documentation, prepare all your information. You also need to you need to practice. You need to practice, 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 practice. You need to plan everything that you're going to do. And when you are talking to a customer, don't sell immediately. You're going to get there because this is a new thing. For us, it's new, and for them, it's new. And the answer how to bridge this gap is going to be to become very proficient, very professional, very successful in an online environment. Once again, online doesn't mean no face-to-face. In fact, I believe online should be 80% face-to-face. You can talk to somebody via an online platform while sending information. You can talk to somebody while you're transferring information. That face-to-face is massively important. Even though it's online, you're going to still embrace this beautiful face-to-face situation that we've come to love over the years. Now, will this be the same normal? Or will we return back to normal post-lockdown when lockdown is now finished and the world goes back to normal? Is that going to be normal as we know it today in a sales environment? I don't think so. I think it's not going to be the same. And I'll tell you why. It's going to be a blended approach because we've got the old way of doing things, the very face-to-face, the very hands-on. And right now we're kind of forced to do this very online, social distancing, no traveling kind of way of doing things, the new way. And going forward, it's going to be a blend of these two. Now, why is it going to be a blend? Because some customers, fair enough, they're going to like to go to the old way of doing things. They're going to want to have face-to-face time with you, sitting across a table from you. Absolutely. But some customers are going to still have a bit of fear about social distancing. They're going to still have a bit of a fear about being in public spaces. They're not going to really want to unless they absolutely have to. So they might want a lot of their time spent with you is going to be online. And they're going to come and see you only when they absolutely have to. But it doesn't mean you can't see them because you're going to be doing face-to-face online connections with them. Absolutely. All right. So it's going to be a blend of the old and the new. So if you're going to stick to the old way of doing things, the old school way of doing things, and you just wait this lockdown out, when we get out of this lockdown, you might find that your customer base is now shrunk quite a bit. because a lot of these customers will want to go, also use this new approach. And if you're not a fan with the new approach, you're not going to be able to build that trust. You're not going to be able to interact with them. So going forward, it's going to be absolutely a blended approach between the two. And I think that's going to be massively important. So to summarize, the future of sales is going to be this blend between the old school and the new school. It's going to be both. Now, we are already professionals and very good at doing it the old school way. And right now we're going to learn, because we want to stay relevant in the market, we're going to learn, we're going to embrace the new way. And post-lockdown, we're going to have both sets of toolkits at our disposal. So those customers that want to have a sit-down, we're going to be able to deal with them 100%. Those who want to have a virtual sit-down, we're going to have the tools to deal with them 100%. It's going to be a blend of these two. But right now, you need to spend your time preparing. You need to spend the time going through the technology, learning the technology, getting the information, practicing how to distribute it and send it and all that kind of stuff. You've got to spend the time preparing for this. You've got to practice it. You've got to get used to it. You've got to get comfortable with it. So spend that time today getting used to this whole online world. Get used to being online. I mean, being online is great. It's fantastic. It's actually quite convenient. I think some of you who've already embraced it would agree. It's pretty cool to be online. Because you can still stay at home and you can still do some stuff around the house, and it's your own coffee and it's your own couch and it's your own this and that and the next thing. So it's quite comfortable and quite cozy. And you may actually prefer to be at home. If you're anything like me, I'm more productive when I'm at home. I think there's less distractions when I'm at home. I can control my time. I can control my space when I'm at home. So I'm far more productive when I'm at home. And being online is great. You can have an online call, you can have a face-to-face call. It's awesome, it's fantastic. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And we all got to get used to being online. It doesn't matter what product or what services you're selling, there is always going to be an online part of it. But the online is not going to replace the offline in the future. It's going to be a blend of the two. And that's very important. Online will not replace the offline stuff. It's going to be a blend of those two together. So you've got to get used to doing both. Last but not least, guys, be relevant. Be the relevant salesperson of choice in your world. Be the best, the most relevant salesperson of choice in your world. If you've got both skill sets and we get to this post-lockdown, you're going to be in demand because you can do it both ways. If you're going to wait and go back to the old school way, you might be irrelevant and therefore they might not want you around anymore. You've got to be relevant. You've got to be the most relevant salesperson in your world. Aim to be the best at it, because then when lockdown is over, or even in this time, you will be able to generate income. You will be able to generate those commissions, and you will, without a shadow of a doubt, do fantastically well and be very successful in the future. All right, so that's it from my side. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Sales Journey.